You see Stephan Dieujuste, 24 years old. He's accused of killing 19-year-old Nathaniel Jennings in a shooting that happened back in May. Now, he claims that he acted in a self-defense. He was originally charged with manslaughter, but then those charges were raised after the state attorney saw surveillance video. There was a bond hearing last month. The judge held off on that bond decision at the time, saying he needed to see more evidence. And so here we are back in court again today. Let's go ahead and listen in.
The record players to introduce the defense table with defense counsel. So we're here for continuation of the grade hearing. Is the state ready to proceed? Yes, sir. Defense ready to proceed?
Oh, we already on it?
Okay.
We had a preliminary issue with the state where they wanted to introduce a modification of a different video, and we asked to have another one introduced as well. Is that still planning?
Yes, the state is so stipulated.
To what? The video the defense wants to put in?
Yes, Your Honor. Understanding for the defense stipulated to the state showing the zoomed-in modified version of the video that was previously.
Okay.
We want to just feel that in that part.
Sure. It sounds like both sides are agreeing that both sides can use surveillance video, right, by agreement?
Yes, this has been an ongoing investigation.
Okay, very good.
We both agree that things will help contact.
Okay. No objection on the state's next numerical exhibit as the state's one and three in the defenses. One. Okay. Yeah, so once the exhibits are marked, state, did you want to proceed first?
The state doesn't have any other presentation evidence, so the state will be prepared to report with disclosed versions to prove evidence presumption three.
Good. And defense in regard to videos? Or I guess I'm confused. Can I have the attorney's approach for a second? Thank you for that. All right, state, you may proceed.
Your Honor, based upon the evidence presented to the court in the previous hearing, it's the state's position that pursuant to State v. Arthur, which is 390-717, as Florida Supreme Court case from 1980, that if the court finds a ruling that the state's proven That the proof is evident, the presumption is great that the defendant has committed a crime that's punishable by life, which the defendant's charged with second-degree murder, which does carry a possible life sentence. That the court may hold the defendant without bond pending the resolution of the case. It's the state's position that the state has met that verdict. Looking at the jury instructions for second-degree murder, there's three elements. One, the victim is dead. Two, the death was caused by a criminal act of the defendant. And three, there was an unlawful killing of the victim by an act imminently dangerous to another and demonstrating a depraved mind without regard for human life. The jury instructions define an act that is imminently dangerous to another and demonstrating a depraved mind as an act or series of acts that, one, a person of ordinary judgment would know with reasonably certain guilt or serious bodily injury to another, and two, is done from ill will, hatred, spite, or evil intent, and three, is of such nature that the act itself indicates an indifference to human life. All right, it's the state's position that the state has presented sufficient evidence for the court to find a finding of proof evidence presumption great as to all of the elements of second-degree murder. Looking back at the testimony from the previous hearing, we first had the testimony of Sergeant Edwin Carlson. He was the chief agent who investigated this case. Sergeant Carlson put out testimony to the court that this happened on May 11, 2025, at approximately 1:50 a.m. near or around 2009 Vernon Place, the approximate intersection of Vernon Place and New Haven in the city of Melbourne in Brevard County, Florida. Based upon law enforcement's investigation, law enforcement was at that area. There were several bars and nightclubs in the area where law enforcement was doing security at those bars. There was reports of gunshots. Law enforcement responded. Law enforcement found Mr. Nathaniel Jennings on the side of the road, unresponsive in front of the entrance to the Neon Rodeo, which is approximately, I believe, 829 East New Haven in Brevard County. Officers on the scene, along with civilians on the scene, attempted CPR and attempted to render first aid. EMS ultimately responded. Mr. Jennings was then transported to Holmes Regional Medical Center, and he was pronounced deceased at 2:24 a.m. by Dr. B. Warren. The medical examination report, which was submitted into evidence, states 22, confirms that Nathaniel Jennings is deceased and passed away on that day. Cause of death, multiple gunshot wounds, manner of death, homicide. Sergeant Carlson further testified that upon responding, several officers were notified by individuals that the person who had done the shooting was located in the parking lot at 2009 Vernon Place. That defendant was taken into custody and brought to the Melbourne Police Department for a post-Miranda interview. Additionally, Your Honor, crime scene responded to that location, and crime scene units found in the same location where the defendant was taken into custody a Glock 19 9mm firearm with a green laser sight, and crime scene found 5 shell casings along with other evidence and blood spatter located at the scene leading from that intersection up to the front entrance of the bar where Nathaniel Jennings ultimately collapsed. Sergeant Carlson further testified that during the post-Miranda interview with Stephan Dieujuste, Mr. Dieujuste admitted that he was at that location. Mr. Dieujuste said he had a confrontation with an unknown individual. That individual was later identified as Mr. Nathaniel Jennings. Mr. Dieujuste explained to law enforcement that when he first saw that male, he, quote, dabbed him up. He explained that he recognized the male, but he didn't know exactly his name or who he was. He indicated that as the confrontation continued, that Mr. Dieujuste claimed that Mr. Jennings was threatening to tell other people his location. He said that a third-party individual got involved. That individual later identified as Damian Minnick, a cousin of the deceased Mr. Jennings. Mr. Dieujuste told law enforcement that as the verbal argument continued, that Mr. Minnick approached him, and Mr. Minnick held his arms down, and Mr. Dieujuste told law enforcement that Mr. Minnick put him in some type of bear hug. Mr. Dieujuste then told law enforcement that he saw Nathaniel Jennings approach him, and he said that he then told Mr. Minnick to get away, and he pushed Mr. Minnick away from him. Mr. Dieujuste then told law enforcement that Mr. Jennings made some type of aggressive move toward him that he interpreted as a fighting stance, and he admitted to law enforcement that he did not see that Mr. Jennings had a firearm or a weapon. He told law enforcement that he could see that Mr. Jennings was wearing tight-fitting clothes, and he could see that Mr. Jennings did not have a weapon. He even told law enforcement that he did not believe Mr. Jennings had a firearm or a weapon. Mr. Dieujuste further told law enforcement that after Mr. Jennings made this type of move towards him, that they were standing, he demonstrated here, they were standing probably about 2 arms lengths apart. Mr. Dieujuste told law enforcement that at no time did Mr. Jennings have any physical contact with him. He said after Mr. Jennings made that type of move towards him that he interpreted as a threatening move or the potential start of a fight, that he had his hand in his pocket on his Glock 17. He said he pulled his Glock 17 out and he fired 4 to 5 times. He told law enforcement that the first shot struck the defendant or struck Mr. Jennings. He said he then fired again. He said he fired a 3rd time, and he said he fired a 4th time as Mr. Jennings was falling to the ground. He then told law enforcement that after the shooting happened that people ran everywhere, including Mr. Jennings running off. Crime scene confirmed multiple shell casings at the scene. Crime scene confirmed that they found the Glock 17 with the laser sight on it. Law enforcement further asked Mr. Dieujuste approximately if he kept his weapon loaded. He said he did. They asked how many rounds he would normally keep in the magazine. He said he wasn't sure, but at least 10. Law enforcement found the magazine was capable of holding greater than 14 rounds of ammunition, and when they took a photograph of it, there were 2 rounds of ammunition left in that magazine. Looking at the medical examiner's report, this is states 22. I'm going to go over the medical examiner's report. The medical examiner reports that upon completion of the autopsy of Mr. Jennings, he observed a total of 10 gunshot wounds on Mr. Jennings. 4 of those gunshot wounds were penetrating wounds. 5 of the gunshot wounds were perforating wounds, meaning through and through, and 1 of those gunshot wounds was a graze. Gunshot wound number 1 identified by the medical examiner is a perforating gunshot wound of the right hand. The entrance wound is on the dorsal surface of the victim's right hand, and the exit wound is on the ventral surface of the right thumb. The ME described gunshot number 2 as a graze on the left knee area. Gunshot wound number 3 is another perforating wound through and through on the left inner thigh. The entrance is on the middle area of the inner surface of the left thigh. The exit wound is described as 5.5 inches proximally and more posteriorly to the entrance wound. This wound is located 30 inches above the left heel and about 11.5 inches beneath the top of the left iliac bone. Gunshot wound number 4 is also a perforating or through and through wound of the right forearm. The entry wound is on the dorsal surface of the right forearm. The exit wound is on the ventral surface of the right forearm. Gunshot wound number 5 is a perforating gunshot wound of the right upper arm. The entrance wound is on the ventrolateral surface of the right upper arm, and the exit wound is on the ventral medial surface of the right upper arm. Gunshot wound number 6 is a penetrating gunshot wound to the right lateral chest. The medical examiner notes that an x-ray was done of the victim, and the x-ray of the torso reveals an opaque object. The bullet is in the left lateral and lower inner torso cavity. Gunshot wound number 7, penetrating gunshot wound of the right upper anterior chest. X-ray reveals that of the chest reveals an opaque object, the bullet in the lower right chest cavity. Gunshot wound number 8 is a penetrating wound to the right buttock. X-ray reports the bullet is identified in the upper lateral right thigh. Gunshot wound number 9 is a penetrating gunshot wound of the right buttock. X-ray reveals 3 opaque fragments, bullet fragments, are identified in the right upper femur and surrounding soft tissues. And gunshot wound number 10 is a perforated gunshot wound of the right shoulder, a through-and-through wound. The entrance is on the anterior lateral surface of the right shoulder. The exit wound is on the posterior lateral surface of the right shoulder. And again, it's the opinion of the medical examiner that the cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds. Law enforcement then was further able to locate surveillance video. This was confirmed from Miss Alexis McGuire. She owned a yoga studio at 2006 Vernon Place, which would be across the street from the parking lot and the intersection where this occurred. The first video I'd like to play is what's been previously admitted as States 20.
Spot hearing continuing in Brevard County. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Garrett Weimer here, and we're getting you back inside this bond hearing for Stephan Dieujuste in Brevard County, charged with second-degree murder in the killing of Nathaniel Jennings. Now, just a couple of minutes ago, they showed the unredacted surveillance video showing that shooting. We didn't want to show that to you because it shows multiple shots being fired, Jennings being hit, running through this area. You're now seeing the aftermath of that. That is Dieujuste, who you see standing there now. It appears had put the gun down, standing there with his arms up in the air at this point in the video. So let's go ahead and listen back into this hearing as it continues right now live in Brevard County.
If the court will recall, the crime scene investigator, Ms. Meadows, testified that they found a vehicle, a Lexus, that had been shot. That's this vehicle right here, which had a bullet wound or a bullet defect to the driver's side window. Going back to the beginning of the video, Your Honor, the state would like to point out several things to Your Honor. That this is a weekend night towards closing time for bars in downtown Melbourne. As Your Honor can see, there's quite a bit of pedestrian traffic around. There's multiple people seen in this video. Throughout the video, as the shooting occurred, there were a few different vehicles that drove by. This wasn't an isolated incident. There were other innocent bystanders around in this area beyond just the parties involved in this incident. Now I'd like to publish what's been admitted into evidence as states 23. And Your Honor, this is the same angle, same camera and recording from states 22. This has just been zoomed in and cropped to show the more relevant portions. And there's Mr. Dieujuste walking into the screen. There's Mr. Jennings and Mr. Minnick. Pausing the video at 1 minute and 11 seconds. Moving it back to approximately the 12-second mark. You'll watch Mr. Dieujuste pausing at 15 seconds. You can see there's a significant distance at this time between Mr. Dieujuste and Mr. Jennings. Watch Mr. Dieujuste. He claps his hands and makes a motion towards Mr. Jennings. In response to that, Mr. Minnick appears to go in between the two. 48-second mark, Mr. Dieujuste approaches where Mr. Minnick and Mr. Jennings approaches where Mr. Dieujuste and Mr. Minnick are. I'm going to move the video back to the 48-second mark. And at this time, I'm going to slow the video down. to 0.33 speed, or approximately 1/3 speed. Now, please note the location of the parties. You'll standing approximately parallel with the end of this yellow stripe on the road, and Mr. Jennings appears to be at the intersection. As Mr. Jennings is approaching, Mr. Dieujuste is staying put. Once Mr. Jennings gets equal to where Mr. Dieujuste is at, Mr. Jennings will continue moving past. He approaches and then he separates. As Mr. Jennings is walking away, you will see Mr. Dieujuste walking towards Mr. Jennings to close that gap that Mr. Jennings is attempting to create. I'm pausing it at the 55-second mark, and I'm going to go back to the 53-second mark. Pausing at 53 seconds, you'll see that there's a visible distance between Mr. Jennings and Mr. Dieujuste. A distance that Mr. Jennings would not be able to physically touch Mr. Dieujuste at that point. Mr. Jennings then makes two movements with his hands. As he's doing that, he continues moving towards the right of the screen, away from Mr. Dieujuste, and Mr. Dieujuste continues walking towards Mr. Jennings. After Mr. Jennings made those two movements with his hands, you'll notice he then puts his hands down at his side at the 55-second mark. Mr. Jennings will then take 2 steps to his right. 1, 2. Mr. Jennings is taking 2 steps to the right. Mr. Dieujuste is taking 2 steps closer to Mr. Jennings to close that gap. You'll notice that right now, Mr. Jennings has his hands down at his sides. Right here, at 57 seconds, Mr. Jennings' hands are down by his sides. At this, you can see there's at least 2 arm lengths between them. Mr. Jennings would not be capable of reaching out or striking or hitting Mr. Dieujuste at this point. There's 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shots, 4 shots. At this point, the defendant's already shot Mr. Jennings multiple times. Mr. Jennings is now on the ground facing away from him. He is not presenting a threat. A reasonable person would not perceive that as a threat. Mr. Jennings is now distancing himself and trying to get away from Mr. Dieujuste. Mr. Dieujuste continues firing. At this point, at 1 minute and 2 seconds, Mr. Jennings has fallen to the ground. He's at least a car length to a car length and a half away from the victim, lying on his back, trying desperately to run away and flee from Mr. Dieujuste. He's able to get up and continue to run. And at this point, with a significant difference, greater than the yellow line on the road, Mr. Dieujuste is standing in the middle of the parking lot to 209 Vernon Place. Mr. Jennings is almost to the intersection of Vernon and New Haven. He's over 2 car lengths away. He's facing away from the defendant. He's actively trying to run away. In addition, there's a large group of people in the same area as the defendant, or the same area as the victim, Mr. Jennings. Mr. Dieujuste, the defendant, standing there, no one by him, no threat to him, he's not in any reasonable danger, points the firearm and fires one last time.
There's a bond hearing continuing in Brevard County for Stephan Dieujuste facing a second-degree murder charge in connection with the death of Nathaniel Jennings. We're getting ready to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus. We'll be back at the top of the hour and have more coverage of a number of other news stories that we're tracking at this hour. We will continue to monitor this bond hearing as well.
Florida Live starts now.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Got a lot to get to. We are continuing to monitor that bond hearing for Stephan Dieujuste going on right now in Brevard County that we've been taking live here on Fox Local Orlando, but we've got a number of other things we want to get to as well. We will continue to monitor that bond hearing that continues. But we want to talk about another hearing to start the show here, and that one in Columbia County, an injunction hearing in the case where the ex-girlfriend of Congressman Corey Mills seeking a restraining order against him, accusing him of sending threats to her. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth was in Columbia County earlier today for that hearing that began this morning. And that they kind of stopped the proceedings for the day, but the hearing never really came to an end, Randy, as far as the arguments and the discussion there.
Yeah, there's still a question mark about if a judge will grant Lindsay Langston, Corey Mills' ex-girlfriend, the current Miss United States, that protection from him. There was a hearing originally scheduled back in August, I believe, where they were supposed to detail, each side and make a determination at that point. That original hearing was rescheduled to today because Lindsay Langston's attorney at that time said that there was not enough time for her to lay out her case for her client. So we were convened today, and an hour, about 45 minutes was scheduled for today's hearing. It took longer than that, and the judge ultimately decided that we have exceeded the allotted amount of time today, and asked both sides how they wanted to proceed moving forward. They had a time, both attorneys had a moment to speak with their clients. And Lindsay Langston's attorney said that she needed more time, at least 45 minutes to an hour. Corey Mills' attorney said that he needed at least 30 to 45 minutes. And so the judge decided that we will recess for today, and they have until 4 o'clock today to send new dates for the rest of this hearing. And so we will come back together again soon to determine or to hear how the judge decides about this restraining order case.
So what did we hear in court today?
So we did hear from Lindsay Langston, and this is the first time that we've heard from her. Obviously, we've had an opportunity to go through the documents that were filed with the clerk of courts, and I have had an opportunity to speak with her attorney previously in preparation for today, but this was the first time that we had an opportunity to hear from her. And on the stand, she talked obviously a lot about some of the evidence that was submitted as part of this restraining order request. And then she kind of gave additional context to how she was feeling when she received these alleged messages from Corey Mills. She talked about what she was going through mentally and physically, and laid that out for the judge to take into consideration as he makes his decision about this moving forward. She did talk a lot about the stress of all of this, saying that one, in moving back home with her family, that was very stressful. She says that she was very stressed receiving these messages, and that she felt like she was being threatened. One of the things that her attorney did was walk through how often, how many times she asked Corey Mills to stop communication with her, and in tallying it up, she testified that she asked Mills directly at least 11 times to leave her alone between the time that they broke up in February to her ultimately filing this restraining order in early August.
Randy, did we hear from Corey Mills at all today, or is that expected in that kind of next hearing?
We did get a chance to hear from Corey Mills just a little bit. And so he had an opportunity to paint his perspective of their relationship, his thoughts about what he did or did not send, or the intentions behind what he did or did not send. Lindsay Langston has said that Corey Mills threatened to release pictures and videos, explicit pictures and videos that they had shared during their time in a relationship, if she did not get back with him. She says that, that was his intention. When he got up to testify, he says that, one, he doesn't have those videos anymore. He says his phone broke, and the videos that he was alluding to in their messages had more to do with the fact of exposing that she was dating someone else while they were together. He also addressed some of the social media videos that were discussed in court, where Lindsay Langston was saying some of the messages or videos that he would send me were threatening in nature, not just to my crown and my title, but also potentially threatening violence toward any future love interests. And they talked about one where Lindsay Langston says that she got a video from Corey Mills on social media that talked about, my boyfriend would kill the person who I'm dating. If someone was trying to pursue me, my boyfriend or ex-boyfriend would kill them. And she says, I interpreted that as a threat. When Corey Mills got on the stand and had an opportunity to talk about his intentions behind sending that, he said it was a joke, not a threat. That he saw the video, it reminded him of how Langston and he used to joke when they were in a relationship, and his intention was not to intimidate her or to threaten her, that it was a joke. And you asked about how much did we get a chance to hear from him today. He gave his testimony. The judge recessed for today right before her attorney could cross-examine him. So we will have to see how what he says is unpacked by Lindsay Langston's attorney. That is where it will pick up when we reconvene.
Unusual to have a case like this kind of move through the court system involving a sitting member of Congress. It's something that's gotten a lot of attention. Can you kind of paint a picture for us what the scene was like in the the courtroom? I would imagine there were a lot of people there, probably a lot of media presence, but were there any protesters or anything like that as well? What was the scene like?
We didn't see any protesters. There was a lot of media, obviously law enforcement presence because it is a courtroom. And I didn't notice any family members in court. There was one FHP, a state trooper, who was on backup to potentially testify with Lindsay Langston's attorney. He was called up as a witness, but at this point, it doesn't look like he will testify. Other than that, not too many additional people in the courtroom. Lindsay Langston's demeanor was very reserved. She had on a black suit, a white top, and even in walking into the courtroom or walking up to her seat to testify under oath, she did not look at Corey Mills. Did not, obviously, they're considering the nature of today's hearing, not much interaction between the two of them. She did get very emotional at times, at some points crying on the stand about what this meant for her. We are sitting behind. We're sitting behind them, so I couldn't see what her facial expressions looked like during Corey Mills as he was testifying. She was very, she did really work to make her point during cross-examination that it wasn't necessarily an ongoing conversation between Mills and herself after they broke up. That was one of the things that a Mills attorney, pushed her on, that, well, you all continue to talk, and why did you not immediately go to law enforcement and explain to them what's going on and file the proper documentation? And she pushed back on that and was emotional, and even in that line of questioning, that she is the victim in this situation. That is what she wants the court and the judge to understand. It is interesting because this is a hearing where one person is asking for a restraining order against another person, and because that there have been discussions about threats of violence, that there is another delay in getting a conclusion to this. And that was one of the things that I talked to Lindsay Langston's attorney about last time when it was rescheduled. And she, at that time, talked about her concerns because there's still no answer about protection for her client. I have reached out to her today about her thoughts about this being pushed back again, and I haven't heard back from her. We did see Corey Mills after today's hearing recessed. He did not take questions. He was in the car leaving with his attorney, but he waved as he was leaving the parking lot.
Well, Fox 35's Randy Hildreth on our way back from Columbia County where that hearing took place, and we'll have to wait till another day to see the kind of resolution for that, but we appreciate you joining us here on Florida Live.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live on this Friday. Thanks for joining us here on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is time now for our Tampa Connection, and for that we go to Fox 13 news anchor Linda Hurtado, who joins us live now. And Linda, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Garrett. Hey, we're getting a look at some wild video that showed the moment that a Lake Wales police officer and his canine were dragged during a traffic stop on Sunday. Take a look at this. We're going to Are you all right?
Yeah.
Where are you hurt?
Everywhere.
Did he run you over?
Yeah.
Well, the Lake Wales Police Department released body camera video along with surveillance video from that gas station. Investigators say 36-year-old Marlon Arundel was pulled over for going 30 miles per hour over the speed limit. Officers then realized he was driving without a license. And when the officer tried to arrest him, they say Arundel resisted and then fought with the officer. That's when Arundel dragged the officer and his canine Bolo as he sped off. So a short time later, officers found him on East Bay Boulevard. They say he tried to run and scaled a barbed wire fence. He fell, and that caused a leg injury. He received some medical attention and then went to jail on several charges, including aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer, injuring a police canine, and driving with a suspended license. As for the officer and the canine, they walked away with bruises and scratches, and they're at home recovering. Speaking of animals, we have a story here that these stories I just find unbelievable. Why? Why would anybody do this? Hillsborough County officials say someone left this dog on the side of the road. You can see the legs are tied together, and now they are looking for the owner. Animal Control says its officers responded on Wednesday to a report of this abandoned dog in Ruskin. His front legs were tied together, his back legs also. Authorities say the dog managed to get the front feet free and then to get to a nearby house where the homeowner reported it. The dog is now at the Hillsborough County Pet Resource Center, and we spoke with the center's director about how he's doing.
We had our veterinary team take a look at him as soon as he came in. Thankfully, he seems to be in fairly good condition. He did have some swelling on his legs from probably being tied together. But for the most part, he is settling in and nice and comfortable. As you can see, he loves to hang out in his blanket here. And so far, he's been a very, very sweet boy.
Well, Animal Control says investigators have been talking with people in the neighborhood. Anyone who can help identify the dog's owner is urged to contact authorities. Pretty sure there'll be some charges filed when they find that owner, if they can prove the owner's the one that did it. Anyway, good to see that dog doing well. For the first time in 2 years, powerboat racing is back in downtown St. Pete. The Monster Energy Powerboat P1 Grand Prix kicked off tonight, runs through Sunday along the city's waterfront and pier district. Last year's event was canceled after Hurricanes Helene and Milton forced organizers to shut down those races. Festivities begin tonight with a pit party at Albert Whitted Park from 6 until 10 p.m., featuring food trucks and vendors, live music from country artist Andy Velo, and plenty of race teams on display. Then the competition heats up Saturday and Sunday with more than 50 powerboats capable of reaching speeds up to 160 miles per hour. They're going to hit the water. And Fox 13 spoke with Powerboat P1 director Thomas Covington about the tough decision to cancel last year's Grand Prix and the excitement surrounding its big return.
It's unfortunate that the storm came in right at the same time on top of the event, but it was tough though. You know, you get all the teams, all the fans calling, emailing to P1, and at the end of the day, we just had to make a call because I think the damage was too significant, you know, especially with the Tropicana and everything going on in town. It just didn't feel right to host the event last year. But hey, we're happy to be back this year, and fingers crossed the weather, it stays a little bit dry for us this weekend. But to be honest, these boats and the jet ski guys, they can handle a bit of weather and wind, so we'll be okay either way.
Proceeds support the P1 Marine Foundation, which will make a donation to Tampa Bay Watch during Sunday's awards ceremony. The nonprofit focuses on bay restoration, community outreach, and marine education initiatives. Tickets are still available, including a VIP experience and an elevated viewing area at the end of the St. Pete Pier. Weather's looking pretty good for them, too, so
yeah,
glad they're making a comeback.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun to be out there, and I'm sure the fans are going to welcome them back and be glad to have that event coming up this weekend.
It's a fun party.
Well, Fox 13 News anchor Linda Hurtado, we appreciate you joining us for our Tampa Connection.
Take care, Garrett.
All right, you do the same. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. 12 suspected gang members are now arrested and facing charges. Facing fraud charges after an announcement today by a U.S. Attorney Greg Kehoe at his office in Tampa earlier today. 12 suspected members of the and associates of the Hood Boys gang out of Lakeland are accused of making up fake businesses and business records to get PPP loans, those Paycheck Protection Program loans during the COVID pandemic that were supposed to help businesses continue to pay their employees. Even amid all the changes and having to shut down and all those kinds of things. But investigators say these gang members instead used that money, tens of thousands of dollars, to buy cars, sporting goods, jewelry, and a number of other things. Here is U.S. Attorney Greg Kehoe and some other investigators giving the details of what their investigation uncovered.
Individuals engaged in a pattern of fraudulent activity involving loans with the Special Business Administration. As you recall, during COVID that began in 2020, the United States government had a series of programs they put forth to ensure that businesses and individuals could survive the pandemic. One of those programs that was designed to help small businesses is the Paycheck Protection Plan. And what was the plan? What was the design of that plan, which we call PPP loans, which was to ensure that small businesses could make payroll. They wanted to give loans to small businesses so they could keep individuals on the payroll. These individuals, these 12 individuals who were part of the Hood Boys gang, both members and associates, male and female, chose to defraud the Small Business Administration and the SBA and the banks with which they were working by filing false documents. These individuals filed fabricated business records. And what was their goal? The goal was to make it appear that they were running successful businesses, when in fact they were not. 11 search warrants were executed yesterday on all of these individual residences, and I'm here to tell you that not one business record was found to support all of the fraudulent businesses that these individuals put forth. They got any number of amounts of money between $15,000 and $20,000, and did they ever spend any cent on that, on payroll? No. What did they spend it on? Well, let's just look at some of the people and that we have set forth in the indictment. Mr. Brantley, he got his money. What did he get? He got $15,810 himself. He spent it on cars, clothes, at gun shows. Khalid Preston, what did he spend his money on? Again, cars, sporting goods, jewelry stores. The next one. Mr. Grimes, he got $20,000 in loans. What did he spend it on? He spent it on automobiles, liquor stores, and investment sites. Quentin Owens, he spent his money on clothing. Tina Sykes, a female member, associate of the gang, she spent her money on clothing, electronics, and on online retailers. When it came due to pay this money back, what did these individuals do? They defaulted, or they didn't pay them and didn't pay the money back. We have 4 individuals in one indictment: Kenny White, Anthony Grant, Jaquez Howard, and Treasure Johnson. They took in over $83,000 in PPP loans and defaulted on them all. Some of the individuals even went to had the audacity to ask that these loans be forgiven, which they were. The reason we brought this case forth was to demonstrate the continued support of law enforcement on a federal and on a local level with the Lakeland Police Department to attack the criminal activity of criminal gangs wherever they may raise their head. We will continue to do this. This is an ongoing investigation, and we'll continue to pursue gang members in Lakeland and throughout the Middle District of Florida.
Disrupting and dismantling violent neighborhood gangs for our communities is our top priority. Together, we will continue to bring all of our tools and tactics to drive these threatening groups out of our communities for good. For years, the Lakeland-based Hood Boys trafficked drugs and firearms throughout Central Florida, terrorizing the very communities that they live in. Members like the alleged head of the drug trafficking organization, Anthony Rashad Grant, who was racking up a lengthy rap sheet to include multiple state drug possession charges, battery, threatening a public official with death, and burglary, were taken off the street yesterday. The Hood Boys had to be stopped. Thanks to the great relationship we have with Lakeland Police, we showed what federal law enforcement can bring to the table when we all work together. Yesterday, we disrupted the gang with multiple arrests and seizure of drugs, guns, and uncovered evidence that shows the gang was also allegedly involved in multiple fraud schemes such as Paycheck Protection Program or PPP loan fraud. Federal crimes mean federal time in prison. So expect to see more of these investigations as we continue to work to crush violent crime in our communities. This is the beginning of the end for these criminals. To our communities, we will not stop. We will not be deterred. Your safety and security are what matters to us most.
It's difficult not to be angry about this case because it highlights the lengths to which criminals will go to defraud the government and every taxpayer to satisfy their greed. As my esteemed colleagues noted, these individuals saw dollar signs when they devised a scheme to steal funds Congress had allocated to help people in need during the unprecedented coronavirus pandemic. That was a time when the goal was, first and foremost, to assist those struggling to make ends meet during an economic shutdown and ensure businesses could continue to make payroll for their employees. Instead, these individuals took advantage of an opportunity to cheat the government by lining their pockets through false loan applications and other fraudulent acts. While many may believe this is a victimless crime, these scammers deprived potentially deserving Americans of critical funds when they may have been desperately needed, and degraded a system put in place to serve small businesses. If you're wondering why postal inspectors are here today, the answer is this crime involved the U.S. mail. When you use the U.S. mail to commit a crime, that brings the full weight and resources of the Postal Inspection Service to bear. This is a reminder to those who may believe they have escaped accountability for their crimes. Postal inspectors will relentlessly pursue those who undermine the rule of law, ensuring they face justice for their illegal actions. Though many years may pass, no person who attacks the U.S. mail or uses the mail to commit crime is safe from arrest and prosecution.
This was just another method for them to line their pockets with money. That was really what it was. It was fraud from the outset.
Fraud from the outset, and this investigation still ongoing. That's according to U.S. Attorney Greg Kehoe talking about these suspected gang members now charged with fraud in connection with this investigation. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. More than half of parents say they are worried about missing the warning signs of potential drug use when it comes to their children. That's according to a new survey from the Harris poll that was done on behalf of the Victoria's Voice Foundation. We've talked to you quite a bit about the work of the Victoria's Voice Foundation, not just in our community here, but across the country. And joining us live now to talk about this and the takeaways from this survey and the ongoing work that needs to be done now is Leah Shepard. She's the executive director of the Victoria's Voice Foundation. And Leah, we appreciate you joining us again here on Florida Live.
Thanks for having me. We appreciate it.
Leah, I'm going to put up some of the numbers here, and I just want to get your reaction to the findings of this survey showing 51% of parents concerned about missing these warning signs, 53% of parents unaware that naloxone can be obtained without a prescription, and 22% of parents reporting having naloxone on hand in event of an overdose. That's only 1 in 5. So I just want to get your initial thoughts to kind of seeing these numbers and what you make of that.
Well, part of it is awareness. I think part of why so many parents are concerned about missing the signs of drug use is that, to the credit of the media have done a really good job of fentanyl awareness, of drug overdose awareness, of opioid awareness. And I think the education that parents have seen through media outlets, through schools and through other resources lets them know to be on high alert, that there's a really good chance that their child could try marijuana, could try a Xanax, could try an Adderall one time, and it's laced with fentanyl and they die.
This also shows that there is certainly room for growth and additional education of parents when it comes to these warning signs, when it comes to the awareness of things like Narcan. So what do you kind of take as a foundation, kind of take from this and see what kind of your next steps should be when it comes to continuing to educate?
Sure. I think naloxone awareness is one of the main pillars that we stand on. And it was concerning to us that over half of parents think that you still need a prescription to access it. The CDC approved for this to be, or the FDA, I apologize, approved for this to be over the counter over 2.5 years ago in March of 2023. If you walk up to almost any pharmacy counter, it's point of sale, and you do not need a prescription to buy it. And so that's really alarming to us that parents still think that they need to have a prescription to be able to carry this in their car, for kids to have it in their backpack at any given time, which means we need to continue all of our awareness campaigns and education in the work that we do.
Let's talk about the red flags and the warning signs that parents say they're concerned about missing. I'm sure this is something that you hear from parents
Every day.
that they're worried about it. Yeah. So what do you tell them?
We tell them that really what you need to look out for are patterns of behavior with your child. Are they losing weight? Are they hanging out in their room more often? Are they less sociable than they normally would be? Have there been a change in their grades? Have their grades dropped? Do you notice that they're hanging out with different friends? Are they not participating in after-school activities like they used to? So those are the things that we ask parents to really keep an eye on with your kids. And you may not think you're getting through to them when you're having that carpool ride home and the kids in the back seat of the car, but just keep the conversations going with them.
When it comes to having the Narcan on hand, and we show those numbers showing that over 1 in 5 parents say they do have naloxone on hand in the event of an overdose. What would you say to parents who say, well, I don't want to have that on hand because I don't want to condone drug use of my children? How do you respond to that?
Well, you're not condoning drug use. You're saving your child's life, or potentially the life of a child who's, in social contact, a child who's at your house after school. I would also tell them that, most parents and a lot of homeowners have fire extinguishers in their house. I have one under my kitchen cabinet now, and I certainly don't condone arson or hope that there's going to be a kitchen fire, but I've got that fire extinguisher in case there is. You certainly don't think that your child is doing drugs. But you need to have that naloxone on hand just in case they have.
What should parents know when they see this? What do you want the takeaway to be as we kind of get this message out and you talk about the education and the awareness efforts? What is the main message here?
The main message is that no one is immune. The drug epidemic has swept this country in an unprecedented way over the course of the last 5 years. And that if you think it's not going to happen to you, if you think your child is that straight A student, the star athlete, and they're not going to do drugs, you just never know. You have to have conversations with your kids. You have to warn them about the dangers of drug use, that one pill really can kill. And it needs to be an ongoing conversation in your household with your children.
And so what's next for the Victoria's Voice Foundation? I know this is ongoing work, ongoing efforts, and I would imagine it would be helpful to see this data and kind of chart out a roadmap moving forward.
It is, and we are going to continue to do research at this level and share it not only on our website, but through resources like the media. One of the recent programs that we've launched is called Angel Army, and it's a national coalition of bereaved parents who've experienced the overwhelming grief of losing a child to a drug overdose or poisoning. And these are really our soldiers on the front line battle of this drug epidemic in our country. They are trained to go into schools, Rotary clubs, any sort of public speaking engagement, and speak to the experience of their child dying, and warning parents of the signs that they may have missed, and warning children of the dangers of doing drugs. And so that's a program we launched about a month and a half ago, and you'll start seeing more of these parents out in the community.
Because Leah, like you've talked about, this is something that has touched everyone. Not just here in our area, not just across the state, but really across the country. I mean, something that at this point probably hard to find a family that has not been impacted by this in one way or another.
It's our generation's cancer. There's really nobody who hasn't been touched in some capacity. There's some encouraging news. The CDC announced that last year drug overdose deaths did decrease by 27% nationwide, and they attributed a large part of the reason for the drop was the expanded use and awareness of naloxone. So there is some encouraging news. But again, parents, please have those conversations with your kids. Do it tonight.
Leah Shepard, Executive Director of the Victoria's Voice Foundation. We appreciate you joining us here on Florida Live. Appreciate the work you do and everything that the organization does to kind of spread that word and try to curb this crisis. So thanks for joining us, Leah.
Thank you for having us.
We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. Garrett Weimer here, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. A 74-year-old man from Orlando has been arrested. He's accused of orchestrating a more than $5 million Ponzi scheme that defrauded at least 10 victims. That's the news from Attorney General James Uthmeyer, talking about James Clausen, a man who investigators say posed as a real estate broker and was offering fake loans with no intention of paying victims back. Fox 35's Marie Ettinger had the chance to speak with Attorney General James Uthmeyer just a little bit ago.
Yeah, this individual, he's going to do a lot of time behind bars, an elderly gentleman who's been defrauding the public for a long time. He was investing money, stole over $5 million in investment funds from other citizens here in the state, promising significant returns in real estate and other investments, ultimately stealing their money, running away with it, and not, providing what he promised. So we will hold him accountable. He will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars. Look, we have a lot of seniors here in Florida. We've cracked down on efforts to scam against them. But we are equal opportunity prosecutors. If you're a senior and you're violating the law, we're going to come after you too.
Fraud cases like this can be really, really hard to go after criminally. They could be civil matters, or people might just willingly hand over their money and you could consider it a bad investment. How do you crack down on this guy to say, no, you're a criminal?
Yeah, today it's becoming more and more difficult to go after financial crimes, especially in the modern technology world where a lot of funds are wired, are transferred electronically, where some people are engaged in crypto transactions. So we've really beefed up our resources and our financial fraud team to make sure that they have the tools, the resources, and the understanding of finance to better track criminal activity. So we certainly know how to go through bank accounts, and typically, if you can follow the money, you typically can find the crime. And we found so in this case. We're going to be charging this individual with multiple fraud charges. Like I said, he'll do significant time.
Where did things cross over the line for him where it wasn't just that he was taking people's money and not using it well for their investments? He was actually taking it in a way that would land him in jail.
Sure. Well, there's certainly a big difference between mismanagement, potentially investing in assets that don't derive the return that people are seeking. But when you have a situation where it's clear that money is not even being investigated with any fiduciary duty whatsoever, it enables our investigators to look further and find, true fraudulent behavior where people are being deceived about what is going to even happen with their money. So here, this was a pretty open shut case. We'll have several fraud charges that are brought, and this individual will be held accountable.
That was Florida Attorney General James Othmeyer speaking with Fox 35's Marie Ettinger just a little bit ago about that Ponzi scheme, alleged Ponzi scheme that they're investigating. One of the other things Marie also talked with the Attorney General about was the subpoenas announced that the Office of the Attorney General is issuing these criminal and civil subpoenas to the company that employed Harjinder Singh. He is the illegal immigrant who is facing charges in connection with that deadly crash that killed 3 people in St. Lucie County after video shows Singh making what investigators say was an illegal U-turn on Florida's Turnpike. Here is, I do want to play for you that part of their conversation, Fox 35's Marie Ettinger with the Attorney General.
You're sending subpoenas to a few different agencies, so the place that employed him, and then also governments in California and in Washington. What information are you after here?
Well, you had an illegal alien here who should not have obtained a driver's license in the first place, much less an advanced commercial trucking license, one that enables somebody to drive 18-wheelers. The public now knows this individual could not speak English, could not read road signs, and most certainly should not have been on the freeway operating a large 18-wheel vehicle in a manner that could endanger lives. This individual, as you now know, engaged in an unlawful, dangerous U-turn that took 3 lives. So somebody did something grossly wrong here. There's no way this individual passed a test to get this license when he could not speak English and could not read road signs. So we've sent both criminal and civil subpoenas to the company that hired him. We want to find out how exactly he obtained this license when he wasn't competent. And we've sent legal demands to the states of Washington and California that ultimately had agents that allowed him to get these licenses and that allowed him to drive on the streets, putting citizens in unsafe situations. So we'll continue to use every tool at our disposal to hold wrongdoers accountable, be that foreign government jurisdictions that welcome unlawful aliens and enable them to commit crimes, or companies that want to cut corners and give people licenses they do not deserve.
What are the legal demands?
Well, our legal demands are to have access to all the information about how he obtained these licenses, who gave them to him, what tests did he take or what tests was he supposed to take, who administered these tests. We know that ultimately he first got the license in Washington and then had the license renewed in California. We'd like to know what vetting goes in to giving individuals. We'd then like to know how many unlawful aliens have been given these licenses in total. How many people are driving around in our country who cannot speak English yet are operating tractor trailers without having the proper ability to do so. At the end of the day, we want to protect our families, especially here in the state of Florida, and we will fight back against states that don't enforce the law and that allow others to come into our state and subject our citizens to unsafe situations.
This would be like a subpoena for information and depositions then, right? Files.
These
interviews.
are subpoenas for additional information, yes, and this is just the beginning. We'll likely send more as we gather information. Depositions could follow, litigation could follow, When it comes to the states, they have obligations under their own state public records laws to provide information, and we'd like anything and everything we can get related to this case, because at the end of the day, 3 people lost their lives. We don't want to see this happen again. Gross negligence took place, and we want to hold the wrongdoers that are responsible accountable. It's been refreshing to see the Trump administration and the United States Department of Transportation begin their own investigation and audit these states to better understand how they're allowing these people to obtain trucker licenses that are here illegally and do not have the competency. At the end of the day, this is a federally funded program, and they can pull it. If they decide that there's been gross neglect, they could absolutely shut down these programs. I commend them for moving forward. We look forward to helping them. And at the end of the day, I do believe this will save lives.
Florida Attorney General James Ethmeyer speaking just a little bit ago. As he makes clear, this is certainly not over yet. They expect to send more subpoenas, and there is certainly much more to come when it comes to this legal process against this company and a number of other, the states as well, like California and Washington, some of those other states that they have talked about, saying that they've not done enough to kind of enforce those requirements when it comes to the English proficiency. We should also note that Senator Ashley Moody filed legislation this week that would kind of really strengthen requirements when it comes to English proficiency for commercial drivers. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we still have more to come, so keep it right here on Fox Local and on YouTube, and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live on this Friday. Garrett Weimer here, and thanks for joining us live on Fox Local and on YouTube. A wild situation out of Lee County, and no pun intended, even though it certainly could be. Safe to say it was an unusual home invasion there. It happened yesterday on 3rd Street East in Lehigh Acres, and the suspect was a wild boar. Check out this body camera video from the Lee County Sheriff's deputies responding to the scene to try to get this boar out of someone's home.
You better stop it. Hey, bring me that rope. Never seen this. He's bringing a kennel. I've never heard of that. Gosh.
Right? That's a big, mean, feral animal.
Just came through, busting through the back door. We're 10-4. Just advise Aggie, and it's like a 300-pound sow. Oh my gosh. Easy. Easy. You better stop it. Hey, bring me that rope. Whoa.
Oh, going to the front.
It's going east towards the woods.
Yeah, they were able to get that boar out of the home one way or another and headed toward the woods where it belongs. Quite the situation there. Certainly not something you see every day. I don't know what I'd do if I just walked into my living room and saw that big of a wild boar just kind of chilling, just kind of hanging out there. But sounds like it's back home and it's its own home. So that's good news for everybody. A special ceremony last night in Tampa as the Tampa Bay Rays hosted a citizenship ceremony. They were celebrating Constitution Day and Citizenship Day and had a naturalization ceremony ahead of first pitch against the Cleveland Guardians. Afterward, had the chance to hear from U.S. Magistrate Judge Christopher Toot, who administered the oath of allegiance to 25 new U.S. citizens on the field, and the Olsen family, born in Canada, 2 new U.S. citizens, also spoke about what this means to them.
Today we have a naturalization ceremony. It's something that magistrate judges do throughout the country. We're very fortunate here to be at George Steinbrenner Stadium, the big baseball game, and we're about to make 25 applicants new citizens of this great country.
How important? I think a lot of people that are natural-born citizens maybe take for granted how special it is to be a citizen. But how important is this for these folks?
It's incredibly important, and you notice that when you're dealing with the applicants from the very get-go of the ceremony at the end, when they have their children there waving flags, all the work they've gone through over many years to get to the position that they are. In fact, my in-laws went through this same process 30 or 40 years ago, and they remember it to this day.
I know when I've talked to other judges who've done this, they said this is like one of their favorite things to do because everybody's happy. There's nobody who's upset. I mean, is that the same for you? Is this one of the most fun duties you have?
Our job very much is an embarrassment of riches, but there's nothing more enjoyable nor more rewarding than being here and having everybody really achieve the milestone of their life. And as they say, and my colleagues have said in the past, it's the only time where everybody's happy at the end of the day.
That's great. Is there any great memory you have of anybody that you've ever done a naturalization for, something that maybe stands out?
The one thing that I do think about here is my in-laws, who I mentioned. My father-in-law recently passed away, and I know what a great deal it was for him to come over here with no money at all and raise a family here after becoming a citizen. And now that he's passed, I think of him all the time when I do these ceremonies.
And I live in Tampa, Florida, and go to school in Gainesville, Florida.
So you go to school at University of Florida?
I do, yes.
That's great. All right, so tell us, what are we doing here today?
Well, today I'm here for my naturalization ceremony to become a U.S. citizen.
And how excited are you?
I am excited. I'm glad it was an easy process. You know, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I moved here in 2013 with my family, and been a green card since then, and here we are now.
What country are you originally from?
We originally moved from Canada. I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
And how long of a process was it, since you started applying for your citizenship? How long did it take?
Well, we applied at the beginning of this year. We had to take some time to get the interview process. Once we passed the interview, we awaited for this naturalization ceremony, and we found out it would be here at this baseball game today.
And how special is it that you're doing it, at the same time as your sister? How neat is that?
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad we could do it together. My rest of my family has also already done it, but I'm glad I get to do it with my sister today, my younger sister.
So your whole family's now become U.S. citizens?
Yes, we went through the process together, but the way the process turned out for the naturalization ceremony, my sister and I were selected for this one.
Is it kind of emotional to get your citizenship?
A little bit, yeah. It's been very welcomed here. We've made great friends, great opportunities, and I'm just glad that we could get to do this today and become a U.S. citizen.
Today I'm officially becoming a citizen of the United States.
So how important is that to you?
It's really nice. It's giving me security, and I'm excited to be able to vote moving forward living in America.
And how long have you been here?
I've been here since 2013, so I was 7 years old when I moved.
And how difficult was the process of becoming a citizen?
It was a huge move for a lot of reasons, like temperature and just going to a new place that I've never known.
Well, congratulations to all of those new U.S. citizens. Well, thanks for joining us here on Florida Live. We will see you on Monday. Hope you have a great weekend and